title say, today I will be building archetype, or openEHR archetype in a modeling tool called ADL Designer. This tool is owned by a company called Better, and currently it's the one that I use to do these models, but there are more tools from other companies like Ocean. It's some kind of desktop tool, and it's called Archetype Designer and Template Designer, and you can use all these tools for free. I don't know if they might change in the future, but for now they are for free. These tools, what do they do is like having a low code tool where you don't need to code to build your openEHR archetype, but you can do it by drag and dropping some fields that you want to build, or just rename the fields, and you have your database schema done. So I will show you today how you map a questionnaire from a paper and transform it into openEHR archetype. I will do a simple one. I tried to do this video a few days ago with another instrument, and it ended up being so complex with so many rules that I gave up on building that video. So I'm building now one with an instrument that it's way smaller than the other before, and it seems to be easier. So I hope it will not change much along the way, because this is something that it's common to happen. While you are building, you will understand better what you should do, and you will research more to know all the rules that should be implemented on this archetype. So you need to have into consideration that building an archetype is know the data points that you should be used, what those data points mean, if you need any kind of terminology binding, and all the rules associated to it. Like if you need to do a total score, what are the rules to calculate that total score? And sometimes you don't receive all that information, you just receive a printed paper of, let's imagine, a questionnaire, and yeah, the rest you need to discover by yourself. And I don't know how is in the other cases, but at least in openEHR, if you want to do something like this, you need to have everything very well defined. So yeah, let's go into it, and we will see along the way how this will go. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, let's start. So the clinical instrument that I will be modeling today is this Mars 5. This is basically a questionnaire to know the medication adherence from a patient, and basically it's some kind of some questions. Each question will have some score, and then you need to calculate that score, and then that score will mean something that at this point I don't know. This is what I received. It's just a paper with some questions, and what the patient will reply to those questions. So I have some information here that this is copyrighted, and it's by this professor Rob Horn. So from his name we will probably know how to find an article that will get all the instructions from here. So what should we do? I was already searching some stuff, but I will just delete it, what I was checking, and I will start everything from scratch. So the first thing is searching this, having some kind of reference that you can go through. because it's quite common that people just receives this and then they try to do something similar without even understanding it. And although it sounds weird what I'm saying, you can trust me on this. This happens a lot of times. People just implement this quick and dirty, and yeah, it's done, and then the others need to figure out how it should be used. So let's check it. So just post that what was on the form, on the paper form, and now search it. And you can see here on Google that there is some websites with it. Usually this PubMed is a nice one to search. Let's just open it. And you can see that Rob Orn is one of the authors. So let's see what it says. So from the one that we have here, we can see that we only have 5. And here it mentioned 10. Aha, okay. Then they constrain it to only 5. Okay. And you see, sometimes it's common that you just see the abstract, but here on the right side sometimes you have the full text. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. When it's free, it's all great. When it's paid, ask your organization to check if you can get it, or there are other ways to get it too, but I will not say it here. But probably if you are on this area, you know about these things. So always try to save these IDs, because you will need to have this information on the archetype. From all the resources that you checked up, they should be present on the archetype. So when you send this to the CKM is, it meant clinical knowledge manager, and it's like this openEHR online repository where you will have all these archetypes that can be reused, and if something goes there, it will have some initial review, and in order for the editors, which are the people who admins this online repository, they need to know what you checked, and they will check it up to see if it makes sense, the way you organized your archetype. So yeah, always try to save this information. So I will just open this link. And now we have access to the whole file. Yeah, taking consideration that this video there is no script, I didn't do any scripting to follow this video. It's just me showing you how this is done. Maybe I will have some pauses to try to understand what I'm reading, and that's the way to go. And you can also check up what I'm reading. when you look to this kind of typical questionnaires, these responses always, often, sometimes, rarely, and never, these usually have a score for each case. I don't know if it's true for this one, and it's what I'm trying to figure out, because I don't think it will only get this text. It should have a number associated. So I saw something here, but I think it was for the 10 questions, the Mars 10. No. Okay, it's here. Mars 5 follow the same structure as Mars 10 and ask respondents to rate the frequency which the 5 different medication taking behaviors occur, scoring each item on a 5-point scale. Okay, so you see, this is something that is missing here. So that's why you always need to check extra documentation to tell you how these things should be done. If you ever receive the paper only, don't start to code it without understanding the full way that this form needs to be interpreted, because when you go to implement it, you have no clue what it means, and people will not understand what's supposed to be the outcome that comes from this form. So, okay. Then it says higher scores indicating higher reported adherence. What is there anything about total score? So I will still have this article open, and I will check another one. I don't like the type of file here, so I will not even open it. I never saw this, ASP. Also, one thing about these questionnaires, it's the copyright. So it's important to have always into consideration that you can transform any kind of clinical instrument to an openEHR archetype, but it doesn't mean that you have the licenses to use it. And this is not something that openEHR will take care about. It's something that you, if you will implement this archetype into a production, you should have the license to use this archetype, and this archetype and the content that will be saved into this archetype. So you should always check all these copyrights rules that you need to follow, and for that there is a very nice website called eProvide. I think it's called this way. eProvide. And this has all the copyrights for the typical PROM questionnaire, so patient reported outcome measurements questionnaires. And basically you just go to this website and you search here your questionnaire. In our case is the Mars 5. Nothing. Maybe I didn't put the correct keyword. So there is a Mars here. But I don't think it's the one I have. Maybe if I put Mars 5. No. Maybe if I put like this, Mars 5 provide. Maybe I will be unlucky and it will not have the Mars 5. It's always this way. It's this and have product demos. It always go against the plan. And if I put hop Mars hop, it has so many of them. Let me put just the text of that acronym. Yeah, I think I'm unlucky. Usually this works at the first try, but now that I'm recording, I will not find it so easily. But this is expected. It's like if you plan to do some working during some hours for something, you should always consider that stuff could change along the way. Because it's not only building a structure, it's researching about the structure and understanding it. So it's not something that you just do quick. And if you are doing quick, you are doing something wrong, because it's not that fast. It's like you can do an archetype now without just those fields and the numbers associated to those fields, but then where is all the metadata and understanding how it should be done? There isn't. So that part takes a while to research. And it's like the minimum to be acceptable. One of the worst things I see in openEHR models is when I receive them and I just have the structure, but I have no clue what's there even. There is no description, no information where it was taken. It's bad. There is no other word for that. It's just bad. Okay. Okay, I know it's copyrighted. I just don't know where it came from. Oh, maybe here? Oh, but this is for the the article. Maybe if I put here, I could also search the name of who built this. Hob Orn. Okay. Mars 5 Hob Orn copyright. Okay, maybe we can have some information here. Okay, this is the translation of this Mars to Italian. It can also happen that in some cases you don't have copyright to use some of these instruments, but then if you want to translate them to another language, you should ask to the creators, and sometimes they ask you for a fee to make the translation, because they are the ones who know how the translation should be done. Like, they know the context, they know the way it should be asked, and putting any other to do this kind of translations sometimes is not the best way. It's like they say, stuff just got lost in translation, and that's why this kind of articles also exist, so you can have a scientific way of doing translations. So what do they say here? Let's check about copyright. Nothing, huh? Maybe here. Okay, so this is the SAR that created this, and but we had this one open before. Aha, it doesn't search here. Okay, let's... Ah, it's opening this file in these weird documents. Let me try this in another way. So, copy. Let's go here. No, it will give me the same thing. What the heck is this? I don't know this file. Yeah, never open files that you don't know what they mean. No, I'll not open. But it says here, it's copyright and permission to use the scale can be obtained by Professor Hopborn. Yeah, I think this should be enough. We can still even check this provide and they see what it says on the Mars case. So the one with 10 items. Maybe the name of Professor Hope will be there. It's not. But okay. This is not that urgent right now, but at least we got the two main points. One, we know what the scoring means and we know it's a copyright document. So let's start to do the archetype. And how much time passed on this? 27 minutes. So if you are still listening, congratulations. You have a lot of patience. But yeah, this is what looks like in the real world. And what you should do too. So this is the ADL designer. So you can hear this tool in many ways. Archetype designer, ADL designer, modeling tool. And this is the main one. You can do your own account here. And this is owned by Better, as I said before. And on this tool, you do the archetypes and you do the templates. And you can also do translations of archetypes, but I would recommend that you do the translations in the CKM on the openEHR repository. So if you are not aware, CKM is this. This is like a repository with archetypes inside, and you have this website that allows you to see them in various ways. So imagine that we check an archetype. Of course, we always go to the blood pressure because it's the easiest to explain. So if I'm not mistaken, this is also mirrored to a GitHub instance, and both are connecting, so you always have the latest information here. So you see there is a lot of archetypes here, and you can see how they look like. Usually the easiest one for newcomers is the mind map, where you can see all the data points that have been defined for this clinical concept. So this means that an archetype is a clinical concept in a software package. Because end of the day, all of this is code. It's what you see here, it's in fact code. And this is what you will be doing when using this ADL designer tool. But you don't need to write any of this. The tool will do it for you. So let's go here. So don't forget, this one is the repository of archetypes that is shared worldwide, and you can search archetypes. And this one is where you build archetypes or build templates with archetypes that you downloaded from here, plus the ones that you have built and don't exist yet here. Because everyone can build an archetype. But once you build it, when it reaches a phase that it's stable and you tested it and you saved data with it and it's going to production and you know it's all right, then you should come to this one and make a submission for a new archetype. and then they will evaluate it. Usually you should do it a bit before going production at your site, so everyone can have a look at it. But I'm not sure how much time could it take. At least to me, it was super fast. It didn't took more than 2-3 weeks, but it depends how much time people have also free to check these things. So let's log in on this account. Okay, so what you see after login is the list of repositories that you have built. In my case, I have a lot of them, but this list, you can create a new repository for each project that you are working in. I would suggest you to use a Git system. You can use GitHub, which is for free. You just go to this website, github.com, and you build your account, and then you can connect it here on ADL Designer. So just for you to understand how you do that, because it might, maybe you never did it before, I can also build it here. So after you create your account here on GitHub, you need to go to your profile, and then actually you didn't even need to do it. You just need to go here to plus, and now you click on new repository. I will call it test, just in case. So it says if you want to start with a template, and we don't need it. And now you give it a name, so let's put test ADL, and this is your repository name, so your username and the name that you give, and you need to put it public. Yeah, I think it needs to be public, otherwise private, it will be a bit more complicated to configure with ADL Designer, but I know at least the public works. And usually the public is good, because if you are building archetypes, you can share with the others that, okay, I'm working on this project. Maybe if someone is working the same stuff, could collaborate, because openEHR is a collaborative thing. That's why we have this huge community working together, and we could avoid people doing the same stuff without knowing. And that's the way it should go, right? So it's public, and you don't need to add anything else. So you click on create repository, and here they give you your link. In this case, I think you need a SSH. I think I will check it. We will see if it works or not, but usually it's this SSH. And now you go to ADL Designer and you say that you want to create a new repository. You click here on the green tab. Here you have the repository type. You can see the list of them. You can even connect your Google Drive if you have it, but I personally don't like it that much. I think for these things, GitHub or Git would be preferable. If you are working in a company that has GitLab, I think it would also work, but you need to check it. It's like, if you try it and doesn't work, you could open a post in a forum that exists for openEHR. The link is like this, so discourse, openehr.org, and okay, you create your account here, and then you just create a post in tool support. You have here the different tools that exist, and once you make the post, they will check it up and help you. Usually they are kinda, yeah, they are good helping, so it doesn't take that much. So this case we want to have GitHub, and here it will ask you to please connect. Aha, okay, you need to click here, and then you put your credentials, and then it's connected, and now you need to put here the repository name. So this is something you create on your own. I would suggest you to put the name of the project. In this case I will just put test. And other thing that I personally do is putting the branch name. So on these Git systems you can have several branches, and I usually use the main branch and the playground. And on the playground I do all the draft work testing, and once it goes into production I put it on the production, or it's ready to test, or it passed all the tests, I put it on the main, so I don't mess up with what is ready and what is not. So here on the repository I usually put project name, and then I put here I think it's called pipe in English. Yeah, I never know how I do the pipes in this keyboard. So this is what I want to put. I'll just this thing here, this one. You see here I have the playgrounds and the master. Now it's called I said main before because there was some reason why it changed master to main. It was something related with slavery terms, and they wanted to stop with it, so now it's just called main. So let's just do it again. Oh, sorry, it's not this what I want to do. So new repository, GitHub, repository name test pipe, and in this case I will put main, because if you are learning, I don't think yet you need to do this separation of playground, but I can show that in another video. And then here on repository, so when it connects, it checks all the different repositories that you have there, and you can see that it already recognized mine. So I put test ADL, and then it asks the owner, which is your user name, and then you have the branch, and it says main. And why it says main? Because every time you create a repository here, you can have different branches. Okay, I will just add a readme here. Okay, the readme should explain what does this have, but okay, you see now I have a file in this repository, and here you have main, but you can have more branches, but I will not create the branches here. Let's keep it simple and just use the main for everything. When we reach more experienced, I will tell you how you should work with this main and the other branches. So now you click on create, and you have your canvas to build archetypes. So you see this is divided into parts. In one side you have archetypes, and the other side you have templates. The templates, usually it's aggregation of archetypes, and they should reply to a use case. So for example, you can have use case that you want to measure vital signs, and by vital signs that could be blood pressure, body temperature, body weight, so on. So what you do is you want to record that in some context. Imagine you want to do it during an encounter with a physician, and in this case the first thing you need to do is get an archetype with a class composition and get the other archetypes, that in this case will be observation class, and aggregate them inside. And once you have your use case defined, you put that in a template, and then you just put that in your server. To put that in your server, you need to download your template as a OPT file and then upload it later in the server. But that's for later. Now we will just look at the archetype. I will not build it here on this test ADL. I will build it on my repository because I don't want to migrate stuff from one repository to the other. So let me just go back. But what I will tell you now is just do the exact same stuff. Don't think that you need to do anything different. So to build the archetype, you go here to new. Once you are in this canvas, you go to new and you click on archetype. And the first question will be, what is the RM type? RM is the acronym for reference model, and you can see here all the different classes that you can choose. You need to know about these classes. It's just not come here and select any. And for that, you need to understand how the process in a hospital works, or during the clinical investigation, how this process works. And there is a nice image with that explanation, but I don't have it here. But I will do that in another video. Once it's done, you will see it exposed, maybe here in the video on the top right side, where I will tell you how should you choose these things. But if we think a bit deeply in code, the most different things across these different classes is that you will have different variables available out of the box. So you need to imagine always this iceberg case where what you see is just a little bit from what it exists out of the box for you to use. So selecting any type of these classes, it means that there is a lot of things that you can't see, but it's there that you can use. And then you just need to build the rest of the top of the iceberg that will be what you want to add there. But this is something that you need to have in consideration when you need to choose these things. For the case of PROMs, patient reported outcomes, we use the observation. So observation is the most typical one to be used. So you click on observation and then it has the concept. This is the clinical concept name. In our case, we will put the acronym of the clinical instrument that we are building, which is the MARS 5. And here you need to have something into consideration that people are not aware of, which is this minus here. So there are some rules on how to build this archetype IDs, and usually this minus means that you are building a specialization, which is not what we are doing here. So although it could be, because the original one is 10 and this is 5, but that's not what we want to do, because this is like a constraint from the 10 version, And when you do a specialization, it means that you use all the content that you had from the original archetype, and then you specialize the rest of the body of the archetype. You add more fields there, but the rest of the body should stay the original one. That's quite common, for example, in heart rate and fetal heart rate, so the one for the babies, where you have the same core stuff to measure heart rate, but then you have a few more data elements that are specifically only for the fetal heart rate, the one from the babies. So what we do here, we don't put this minus, we put an underscore. Then it asks you the version, so the version of this archetype, because archetypes have versions, and they are ruled by something called semantic versioning, which you can have a major version, which usually has a breaking change. Then you have the minor version and the patch. The patch, if I'm not mistaken, is just to add translations to this archetype, so there is no breaking change, it's just an extra label that you are adding, so you don't change any semantic. Then the minor, I think it's for some terminology bindings, although I'm not sure. It's something that I need to check, but I will have a video to explain each one of these things, and you will also see it on this video, where you should like a thumbnail that you click on it, and the other video will explain to you how to do this. But this is what you should understand. So archetypes have version, they have their own life cycle, and once each version increases, you need to check if the version that you use has breaking changes or not. And by that, the most common is to look at this V here in the final. So every time it has an increment of a number, it means there was a breaking change from the previous one. So maybe some data element was changed, deleted, some data type changed, so it's something you need to be aware. And then original language, always start an archetype with English. Never start it with your own language, because it's so messed up later for other people that don't speak the same language as you to understand what's even there. So as a golden standard, always start it in English, and then when you want, if you use a different language, your own original language, you translate it to that, and I can show you how to do it here. Okay, so we have defined the first part. So when I click on create, some code will be already available for me. This tool will automatically build it based on the reference model that I chose. And we will see, this is called the metadata part also that will appear. So let's click on create, and you see something is here out of the box. But if I click here on ADL, ADL stands for Archetype Definition Language, you can see the code that was already built for this archetype. So you can see that from what we choose, he already told this is observation. It can have a history and a set of events, but nothing important yet has been built. Also, it's important to understand what you are looking at. So basically, here the ADL version, it's the version from the reference model that this openEHR archetype is based on. This case is 1.4. I heard that the next one will be 2, but for that the platforms or the servers that will consume this archetype also need to be updated. So the most, I think right now it only exists platforms that has this one. Maybe there could be someone to test out the new version, but the commercial ones and free ones usually have this version only. And each archetype has its own unique identifier and it has its own ID. So let's go again to the tree. So tree is like seeing your code in your archetype in a low code way. And what does this mean? So the first one is the name of the archetype. So here you don't need to have only Mars 5. You should have it now as complete as possible. So this one in fact means, let's log in this again. Yeah, I will not write anything of this because it takes too much time. So medication, address, report scale. So you should always put the name and then the acronym in brackets. Okay. And now here you see any event. What does this mean? So from a let's think in a different way. From observation, when you are checking a patient, you could be checking him for a long period of time, brief moments of times or point in times or during an interval, and you can choose this. So for example, any event could be checking at any moment when the blood pressure of this patient is being recorded. So you don't have a schedule, you're just checking it. Then point in time would be, for example, when a baby born, you want to check at a specific point in time what happened to that baby. So imagine there is the APGAR score, if I'm not mistaken, which you need to check some vitals from the baby at the first minute, third minute, fourth minute of his life, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember a lot about it. So this is the one that should be used, and you would define the time that this should be taken. And then you have the interval. So imagine you want to say during the last 7 days, what did you felt regarding something. So you could put the duration, and yeah, that's mostly it. So what does this one tell us? Let's see how this is asked to the patient. So this is for the Marsden, but should be similar. Let's see. Okay. Seems there is nothing regarding the time. Okay, so then this means that will be any event, and now we just need basically to copy what it says here, although this is a bit weird. Your own way of using our medicines. I forgot to take them, I altered those. Okay, so now I think at this point you understood that you need to have a data element that will have a score associated. So our data element with these characteristics, it's called ordinal. It's this one here. And you might be asking, yeah, what's this here on the left? So this is all the data types that openEHR provides you to use out of the box. So each one of them have some rules to follow. They have their own specification. By own specification, openEHR didn't invent anything of this. They used other ISO standard that defines how this should be used, basically. And imagine if you click here on ordinal, it automatically adds. But here on the right side, you can check the information. So when you click here on the key point, it tells you how this is structured. Although I believe that people that don't have any kind of IT background don't understand anything that says here. So I usually recommend people to go to the openEHR specification and read it there, because it's really more easier to read. And for how do you access that? You just go to openEHR main website, and this looks different. So you should yeah, every time I'm doing some video, things just change, because why not? So I guess it should be this book. Yeah, okay, this book. You see it says specifications. Maybe it would be nice to have some text under it. So you just click on it and you are redirected to another page which explains you what openEHR is. And then yeah, before I could just click on some parts. So what? No, it's just an image. So I guess this one. Yeah, it's this one. So you click on release previously, and now here you need to search the data types, which usually it's here inside of content. And you click here, and now here you have like a glossary, and you check the ordinal, so DV ordinal class, and it explains you what is this and how it should be used, and all the different attributes that has associated. Maybe looking here it could be a bit tricky to understand, but the thing is, when you build these openEHR archetypes, you need to know what you are doing. If you don't have knowledge how to do these things, don't do it. Search first, ask help, check other videos of people explaining it. Don't do it just for the sake of doing it, because everything you will do here, it's the primary basis of everything that will go on the top. And if you do it wrong, I guess you know what will happen next. Things will not work very well, and you are taking care of the data layer of your system. So you should really have some teaching and explanation how this works. And again, you have the openEHR forum. You can contact people via Twitter. You just need to put hashtag openEHR and people will check that and help you. Or you can also send me a message. I'm super fine with helping on others understanding how this works, because I think this has something special, and it would be great if more people learn about it. Okay, so here you can see examples where it should be used. In this case, you need to pay attention to the symbol and the value. So the symbol will be the numbers associated to it. The symbol will be the text that you will associate to this, which will be this always, often, sometimes, rarely, never, and then the value will be the number. Okay, let's go here to Ideal Designer and let's rename this to our data point or element. This can also be called element. So you click here on rename and you will put the same name as here. I forgot to take them. And now we need to put always, often, sometimes, rarely, never. So we go here to edit in this data element. You click here on edit. If this doesn't appear to you, check if you are in the right tab here on the top. So in this case, you need to be on constraints. And now when you click on edit, this page pops up and it has the value, which is the number associated, and the text. And it will be like always, often, sometimes. Let's check. Always, often, sometimes. It's like if you want to add a new row, you can click on add, or you can click on enter on your keyboard and it automatically adds another one. It's a nice shortcut. Sometimes, rarely, and never. Rarely and never. Okay, so now let's see the associated numbers to this. So 5 is never and 1 is very often. Although here we don't have very often, we have always. And this one here, it says always. Oh, actually, I was seeing it in the wrong place. No, this says it's correct, and maybe the always is from the 10. But yeah, they mean the same. Very often, always. Well, they don't. Let's check if there is other form that says the same thing. Mars 5 questionnaire. Yeah, this is something that you will face quite often. Participant responses to Mars 5. Always. Always. Yeah, it seems that they mostly say always. Okay, let's go back here. Done. So now you want to do another data point, but you will always have the same text and the same scores. So what you need to do is you click here on this copy and you go to any event, and you not any event, to data, and now you paste it, and it just creates the same data point but with different paths. So every time you click in one of these data points, you can see here that a new path is created. This path is like the address inside of your database schema. So these things are in a different place, although they are named the same, but the name you can change. So in this case, you don't put I forgot to take them. You need to put I altered those. I alter those. Okay, and now you can see that for both of them you have the same values, but it's like if the values are the same, they shouldn't have different codes associated. And now I'm telling you this because I noticed this happening, and I think this is something that this tool should be better. No pun indeed. And this is something that you should only do when you are aware of what you are doing, because it's just a recommendation to put the exact same codes here to all the new elements that you will build. So don't forget, this is elements or data points, and this is the values associated to these data elements. And the values associated, semantically, they mean the same. Always on this one, it's the same as always in this one. But when you go to code, they get different numbers. This happens because the tool is doing this for you. It doesn't mean that it's doing it properly. And it's something that you need to be aware, because there is a section here on the archetype code that you can see that is just repeating over and over again. And you don't need that, because once you start to translate this archetype, what will happen is that you will have 5 times the same translation for the same thing, and you don't need that. And then you will receive a huge list with like 25 terms that are exactly the same. Like, you need to translate never 5 times. Doesn't make any sense. So you just need to do this. You go here to the code. You see here these numbers. Each number, when you click on it, it brings you back here, and you can see that 800004 belongs to I forgot to take them, and 800010, you go here, and this is for another one, for another element. So you know what they are by the codes. So let's go here again. What you need to do is copy this one and paste it here, the same. And now we can delete all the extra not necessary terms. So you need to pay attention where it started. So it's from 11 to 15. So you just paste the ones from up. And now you go here down and you delete this useless new terms. I know this can sound a bit weird, but you get the idea once you tried it a few times. It will save you a lot of time. So now we have the same for both. Now let's go again here, data. I want to do the exact same stuff. I just want to copy and paste, but I want the ADL designer to define the codes for me. So at least the code for the element. So now you click again, copy, you go to the data and you paste. And you see it created again the same stuff, very likely with codes that I don't need. So let's change the name of it. I stopped taking them for a while. I stopped taking them for a while. Okay, now we go to ADL again. We copy these codes and you paste here because they mean the same, and we delete again these ones because we don't need them. And you need to be sure that you are deleting the correct ones, because if I do like this, you will see that there is an error and you can break your archetype. So be very careful on this. Every time one of these symbols open, it needs to close somewhere. So never leave these things unmatched. But again, people who will build this, they have IT background usually. I don't believe they will mess up on these things, because not everyone should do this. And it's like clinical people should, this is my opinion, so clinical people should help defining the data points, but then building these things, it should be IT people. Okay. Or medical people that have some further knowledge in IT. I actually think the best people for doing these things are biomedical engineers, because they know a bit of both worlds, and I think it's the better match. Okay, now we need to do another one. It's just more two, so I decide to miss out a dose. Let's do the exact same thing, copy, data, paste. Okay, same thing, go here, copy this one and this one, And trust me, you are having a proper archetype build up, not with useless repetitions. Okay. And the last one, let's just copy it. Okay. And this name is I take less than instructed. I take less than instructed. Okay, and let's go here to the code. Copy again this and this, and delete this useless stuff. Okay, if you have any doubt, just see carefully the places that I select to be deleted. It's just a copy and following and in your side. So okay, we have the structure done. We will add a total score, because usually this always have a total score, and since they are all integers, we will use this data type count, which it returns you can save an integer on it. So when you calculate all of these things, which probably is a sum, but we need to check, it would be, the result would be an integer. So let's just add the count. You just click on it. It's super simple. So you put total score, and I don't know why it put it here. You can drag it down. Yeah, sometimes it takes a bit. Or sometimes it doesn't work at all. So let's just click here then in this arrows. And now usually there is some kind of interpretation to this total score. I don't know yet if we will have it, but I will still add it. I will put it a coded text, so we can, if there is some specific names for each result of the sum, we could internally add them in the archetype, so nothing is invented after. So let's put coded text and call total score interpretation. Even if we don't need it later, we can delete it. And here in the protocol, it would be nice that we add an extension in case in the future something needs to be added to this archetype. Probably it will not, but as a good modeling style, if I can call it that way, just add here this slot, and this slot will allow you to add other cluster archetypes. You can define here which cluster archetypes you want to add, but let's for now call extension. Here on the right side you could constrain. You put the rules here, but I will not touch it. When I say cluster archetypes, I mean if you go here, you have these ones, and then this is some archetype that can be added. Like imagine that you have body examinations, and then you want to add from different body parts. So you would have one main archetype that would be like class evaluation, and then inside of that main archetype they would have a slot that you can add new cluster archetypes inside. Probably they have it here. Okay, you see it's here. Examination finding, examination of a burn, blastocyst, pieces. Okay, that's not body parts, but they should have. More. Let's go back to the archetype. Oh, another good thing. Any kind of data structure you build, try to add a section for the comment. Don't leave the physician without a place to add something that should be important to record at the same time. This comment section should be used just as a comment, not having some data that could be structured. So for this one we will select free text, but we will describe why I was writing free text. We will describe how each one of these data points should be used. Usually there is a page. Not usually, actually there's a page on the openEHR website that gives you some editorial guideline style. I think we can just copy that and put here, so we will check that too. Also, when you build this archetype, as I told you before, you should have all the rules here. And when you look to this paper form, you see there is some information how this should be built. So it's good that you also include this in the archetype. Even you will not use it here to record data, but at least to inform the developer that will take your archetype or your template what kind of information this paper form usually has. So we can, I think in this case we just need to copy these ones here, because this is what is mentioned in the article. So Dr. Hobb mentioned it here somewhere, because I remember reading it. I don't know where it is, but if you go back in the video, you will know. So copy text, and we can put it here on any event. So you go here to details, you go to yeah, you can put here on description, and this information will go together with the archetype. And when the developer is building the UI or the app on top of this archetype, he can access this information. Let's see if they have some information for this. Oh, one thing, always save your archetype, because I noticed that I'm building this archetype for quite long. Visually is quicker, but I didn't make any save, so I'm afraid that I lost the connection token here on ADL Designer. What I mean with this is that if you don't save it during some time, if you don't make any activity, when you click here on save, it can disconnect you from ADL Designer and you lose all your work, and it's terrible. You don't want to ever feel this at all. So what I suggest to you is that when you notice that so much time passed and you didn't save it, you go here to ADL and you copy all this text. And okay, you select all. Okay, you do Control C, no, Control A, Control C. So Control A, Control C, paste it somewhere. Use some text editor. Sublime or Studio Code, whatever you use, and just paste the code here. Let's see what will happen. So save. So it will tell you what's being saved. It automatically says, okay, this will create this archetype, but you can also add some description, and you click on save. And thankfully we didn't lose the token. And now that I saved this, I can go to that GitHub repository, and if I go to the place that I'm saving this stuff, you can see that it's telling that my branch just got an update, and you can see all the stuff that you are building here. So it says that I just created this archetype 26 seconds ago, and when I click on it, it just shows me the code. So all good. But imagine that you lost the token and ADL Designer just logged out. If this happens, you just create the same archetype again without adding this part. You just create it with the same name, and then you go to ADL, you paste the code that you put on your text editor, and when this is done, you just click on 3 and you have the whole body again, so you don't lost stuff. Because this part will render the code that you had here in something more visual. So let's see if there is some information about these things. It seems my Windows virtual machine just shut down for some reason. Just a second. This is not supposed to happen, but I will probably not even cut this from the video, because as I told, this is totally unscripted and I don't have much time to edit the video. This is just me trying to explain you for free how this is done, and you can have a little bit of a flavor of what does this look like. Already 1 hour and a half, but doing an archetype in 1 hour and a half, it's really good. Okay, let's see this. So one of the things that we can do right away is copying the explanation. So this gives us a pretty good description. Let's just copy that to, there is a section here called taped. And now you click here on header and you have the metadata of the archetype. So there is the concept description, and we can just paste that here. Yeah, sometimes you need to check if there isn't any extra end lines, because that's quite common to happen. And always have this filled up. This is super important. because it's where all the information to other people will be present. And give some good keywords so it's easier to search them on the openEHR CKM. So here maybe you can put it in a bit differently. Okay, and we can add all the it's already late. All the articles that we are checking on. So there is a place here, references. You just paste it here. If they have some URL associated to it, add it. Like, it's super nice to have all the information here. Again, check if there isn't any unnecessary end line. And let's see the other cases. So this one seems to be the original. Let's here when you cite it, it gives you in a better way. I usually put APA as a reference format. Okay, and I think I saw another one. Maybe this is the same. Yeah, it's the same. Maybe they have here something about the copyright. So let's just add this there, like use. And I have one archetype that I have this copyright stuff written there. Actually, this was made by, she helped me in another questionnaire. Silly, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I think I put it in this one. Oh. Yeah, this one. So yeah, if you find, there is one archetype called the fact G, I think, on the openEHR CKM, and you have this sentence there, so you just can go there and edit, copy there and edit here. Okay. more. About that authorial, I think it's called openEHR authorial archetype guide, something like this. I remember it's in a Confluence page. Yeah, archetype content and style guide. So you go here and you have each single attribute here explained. So in our case we want the comment, you see here. We can take this one and go here to the tree, go to the comment, go to details, description about the clinical instruments not captured in other fields. And here for the extension they also have something. You can just reuse this thing and adapt. So if I go here to tab, header, use the record component from the Mars 5 questionnaire. Maybe we can also put here medication. It seems they don't add the comment anymore to the scales or scores, but use the extension slot to allow a comment for specific use cases or clinical scenarios. Can I do that? No, I can only put it on the protocol. I will leave it here for now because I've been modeling it this way. I wasn't aware of this one. But if you are doing it like use the extension slot, that means you need to have an archetype with cluster class to add it here. So I would have to check with them if what they really mean here. Yeah, but it doesn't hurt if it's here. So this is something that you can later change can also check with them, but I will write in the comments when I have this figured out, because I built archetypes for a long time and I didn't notice that it had changed. So let's add the rest. Okay, misuse, okay, propose. Maybe we have a more fancy explanation here. Okay, and let's see if there is any kind of interpretation and score. Mars 5 score ring scoring. Okay, this seems to be a nice one to check up. A response I sum for a total score between I will actually copy this whole thing, because I'm using this one for inflammatory bowel disease cohort, and I think it tells everything about it. So summed on a total score between 5 and 25. So if we go here to 3, we go to total score and we can put a threshold, and for that we go here to range and you put that it needs to be between 5 and 25. So any number that you try to record in this field that is lesser than 5 or bigger than 25, it will not work. I mean, it will not save, it will send you automatic rejection of your composition. Composition means that it's some data that you will try to save against this archetype, and if it doesn't match all the rules that you are establishing here, it will not work. And you can automatically realize that if the minimum range is 5 until 25, it means that all these fields are mandatory. And how do you do that? For that you go here to occurrences, and here it says 0 to 1. So it means it cannot be filled or it can be filled, but you want it only that it's always filled up. So like it's a mandatory field. So you just put 1 to 1 in all of them. We could have done that in the beginning when we just copied them, but I didn't knew the rules, the total rules at that point. And this total score is also mandatory, and comment is optional, and total score interpretation. Total score. Maybe there isn't any. Oh. I don't think there is any. I will still search, but you know, you don't build exactly an archetype in one day. You need to search about it. And again, if I found out that the score interpretation is necessary, I will add on the comment. But you will see this archetype on the openEHR CKM. I will send it to there once it's done and once we have it in the hospitals here. So you know it's something already properly done, let's say that way. Okay, so let's just remove this one. We can add it later, but I think we have most of it. So there isn't really any description about each case, because it's straightforward for the patient. So states, yeah, I think this is mostly it. In case you are curious, how do you add a new language to this? I don't know if in this case I need to add translations. I have in German and in French. So I will just add them here. Like, I will not add the translation, I will add like a new section where you can add these labels. And for that you click here on terminology and you go to languages and terminologies, and here on translation languages you click on this plus, and now you need to search the code of your country, and these follow I think it's a ISO alpha 2 code or something. So in my case I want Deutsch, so that would be DE, and I click on done, and I want to add French. And if you notice here on the right side, the extra language is being added. Now you add French, should be FR, yeah, and click on done, and now you have the structure for the terminologies available. And if you go back to 3, you see that all these new places got this asterisk. I don't know how you call this. In Portuguese is asterisco. And you basically, you just need to translate them right away. Like, it allows you to see the name in English, and you just write it in your language. And then if you change something in the English one, it will automatically replace what you wrote here, so you need to change it again. So pay attention to that. You can translate it here, or you can go to tabs and also translate them here. Just click here and you translate them. It's super simple. So I don't know German, neither French, so I will not save anything, but basically it's just coming here, change whatever you want, and it's translated. So let's save it. Let's go to the English, and this is basically it. So for now you have the archetype done. It doesn't mean that you have everything done. Now this, in order to go to a server, it needs to be inside of a template, and then you need to save a template and put this into a openEHR server. But that I will explain later in other video. For now, this is just for you to see how an archetype is done. As you see, it's not something very quick. It's something that will take you some time to research. Maybe tomorrow I will figure out that maybe I need to do something different. The one I'm thinking is the way I should rename this, because this is a question to the patient. But I think so far this is okay. And there isn't much to do here. So yeah, I hope you learned something new. And yeah, in case you are curious, all the changes that I have done, they are all here, so I never lose this. And it's the safest way of doing stuff. So yeah, I hope you learned something new. I hope it was useful and I didn't lose 2 hours of my time and your time. And I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any question, just feel free to write in the comments. I will reach to you. You can also find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. But really, if you have any question, ask. Don't leave with that feeling of being like feeling stupid by asking something. Like, no one is stupid. Every question is valid, and like I'm here also to help, and I believe all the other people on openEHR too. So have a good day or night, and see you in the next video, I guess. Bye.